Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and today I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Pisces. If Pisces is your solar, lunar, ascendant slash rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. Okay, let's see what do these tea leaves have to say today. All right, so I'm kind of in a happy mood. We are going to be with family these next few days and really looking forward to it. So if I'm a little bit goofy, that's why. And so our card for today is the 9 of Wands. And so we have the card of strength. There's a lot of strength here. And there is, I can already see. Wow, and I just want to look at as we even begin. I'm going to keep turning it in a minute, but we have these mountains. We have someone who has climbed up into one of the first peaks of the mountain, going up that second peak. Their arm is raised and there is a sense of triumph. There is a sense of conquering. There's a sense of, having the will and the means. Okay? And this is a beautiful, we love the mountain imagery and spirituality, don't we? The holy mountain, the mountain of awakening, a higher perspective, a goal, a very clear goal, right? When you think of setting something, setting a goal that you can see, you maybe consider like in your mind, in your mind's eye, looking out over a valley, and in the distance there is a mountain range, and within that mountain range there are those snow-capped mountains high up in almost the clouds. And we think one day, right? One day we will know the mysteries of this mountain. And so we must prepare to climb. And this is, one of the most arcane, even more than that, primeval, probably, symbolisms. We see mountains in pre-modern artwork, in artworks of hunter-gatherers and so on. And so this is a profound meaning. There is a profound meaning. And of course we apply our own meaning to it. Who knows why they were painting it? Maybe it was even just a map, right? Yeah, something that is kind of one of those collective unconscious symbols, an archetypal symbol. Okay, and so I'm just going to turn this just one more time here. I just want to look over it. Okay. I have a lot of Okay, so I want to start with I'm going to start here. It looks like we have a pelican. The pelican, even the pelican beaker, I think it's called, in alchemy or in chemistry, of course. A tool of distillation. Okay, and what is distillation? It is when we use heat to warm up to bring to a boil a liquid. And then what comes from the liquid are, and I might be wrong about this, but they're the essential qualities of that, whatever it is that is in that beaker. Okay, so the condensation that goes up into and down this little tube. And so as far as symbolism goes with what we're looking at, and I'm not talking about actual physical alchemy, but we are distilling a part of self. And this is that spiritual aspect, that emotional aspect, that soul aspect, distilling that part of self that I feel has, maybe gone unrecognized, maybe something that is beloved to you about yourself, about your life, about your spirituality, but it has not fit into the greater narrative of your being. And what do I mean by this? Maybe you come from a place or a family or a culture or a community where you have felt like you've had to kind of maybe not hide who you are or what you identify with, or something that you feel passionate about, a belief, maybe a religious or spiritual belief, or a belief about your identity, a feeling, or something that is very core to who you are, right? And so often, even as adults, right? And sometimes it's even more difficult, I would say, as you get older, if you are still living within the area of your family and community that seems to be unaccepting, or you perceive them to maybe they would not accept this part of yourself. And so we either hide it away, right? Or we try to ignore it ourselves. We don't think about it. And this becomes part of that shadow self. But then at some point in our life, we have to do something about it. We have to honor parts of ourselves, even if they seem difficult, even if you perceive that this will be difficult to other people. Okay. And so, and this could be anything. It could be any, I'm not, there are the obvious ones that maybe come to mind, but even things that, for me, let's see, for example, for me, I lived a life, I was really into, partying, music scene, art, whatever. I was surrounded by people who did not have children, were very, not against like a family structure, but it just kind of was like, oh, that's kind of like a square way to live. Like, who would want to get married and have a family and, whatever. So, for me now, married, child, stay-at-home parent most of the time, a homemaker. You know what I mean? You can see where I'm going here. And it wasn't what I never perceived myself to want this necessarily, but when it came, it has been the great joy of my life. Hello, TT. And so, we all have things, even if you can, maybe you sit there and you think, well, that's silly, Lenore. That's not something to feel like you have to hide that from people. Well, it just depends. It depends on where we come from, what we, what are our kind of identifying qualities of our beliefs or configurations. And so we get to a point where it's like, okay, I have to either talk about this with my people, my family, my community, and they are either going to accept it or not, and I'll have to go from there. Or, you kind of just go away from it all. You go and start your own life. You do your own thing. You explore this other emerging narrative, right? And that's, you know, that's either way. It's very, you have to, it's a lot of bravery involved. And so I feel like we are in this place where there is that distillation of spirit, okay, of soul, of your beliefs. The awakening has been upon you and many people. And if you are not being received well, I don't think that you are going to stick around and see how it goes. I feel like there is a sense of urgency. It feels very potent. And I think you are doing the work that is making this aspect of soul, this connection to spirit, feel like you cannot go back. You cannot dull yourself once again. This thing has already happened. This process has already begun. Okay? And so I see also we have this heart shape in here. And I feel like there really is this yearning to find your own sense of home, belonging, to be encapsulated, to return to that symbolic womb. Okay? We also have a butterfly here. So I feel like this is really that time. There's a lot of strength, and we have that card, the strength card. There is so much strength here. We have a flower growing, you know, and it looks like it has really taken root. There is no going back, and there's no desire to. And you're going to have to do what you're going to have to do. And that's hard. And I know. And I empathize. And you know what? I think a lot of people who are here on this channel, who comment, who watch the videos, who are, you know, in the Discord and whatever, this community understands. Because there's a lot of people here who have been going through that awakening process, that ascension process. Okay, and you know, once you see it, everything looks different, doesn't it? And you can probably hear my daughter down there having fun. She's downstairs with Dad playing in the playroom. Okay, so we have a W here, and that looks important. It does, and almost maybe WT, and then maybe an N or Z, WTZ, or maybe WIZ. But those look important. Let's see. I probably had this. Sometimes I don't look in my viewfinder there. And I'm like going on. And it's all out of focus. WIZ. And then we have a person wearing a dress or some kind of robe. They look beautiful. Remind me of something like a dervish almost. Some kind of holy person. And it looks like they are kind of arriving to these letters. We also have the illuminating candle here, and I'm trying to see, what is this? It looks like a flag upon maybe an 8 or an infinity sign. Okay, so, you know, I think that there is a lot of thought about this greater, you know, the greater karmic work. When I see the infinity sign, I think often of the... for whatever reason, it brings up this idea of the dharmic wheel, and so we have our karmic work. Okay, and I feel like you are firmly planted in that work. And what does that really mean? It means living a life in such a way that is true to self. At least this is how I perceive it. And to balance the weight of our wrongs, I suppose, but that's kind of like dualistic thinking. It's not so much wrongs as the things that we have kind of piled up for our existence, the remnants of our existence that's left behind. We have to clean up after ourselves, and so we do over and over and over again. And I think of it as trying to tread as lightly as we can through this place. Existentially, not literally. So, how do we do that? What do we do? And this is just these are things that I think about. It doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong. Who knows, right? I feel like it usually has to go from the gut. What are you feeling? But things like being of service to your community, being, somebody who, helps those who need help. Not hoarding resources, not, whatever. I'm not going to go through all of the virtues and tenets and all this thing. It gets a little too dogmatic. I just, I'd like personally to get into a purely Taoist way of thinking about things. But unfortunately, I'm constantly untying that conditioning. And, a lot of things that I've conditioned into myself through my own studies. So it is, again, another loop of kind of indoctrination and trying to release myself of that as my life changes, as I understand things differently. And I think this is true of all of us who are on this kind of path, And so, I think that we see here just that, yes, you are doing the work. Whatever that is called for you, whatever it looks like, it's important for you to find, maybe not so much as a Pisces, but as a human being, maybe, I don't know, are Pisces very social people? I'm not sure. But for you to find a community for yourself. And I think really ultimately the message of this reading, and we have a goddess here, a fertility goddess, the message that I'm seeing here, and then we also have a sailboat. So the message is, ultimately, let me distillate it for you, is that you are protected by that divine goddess energy. You are on a trip away from the way that your life is set up right now. You are finding parts of yourself. These are parts of yourself for one reason or another that have felt maybe shamed. Maybe they are taboo. Maybe it's just, you've grown up in a place where people say negative things, or maybe it's a belief you've held yourself and you are discovering that you are more aligned with it than you ever imagined. So now you are off sailing the oceans, looking for your place, beginning to understand how fluid things truly are. Okay. And, and I think you've had a relatively supportive family, but for one reason or another, you have felt pretty shy or shameful or something. Maybe it's just that you want this for yourself. You don't want to hear what they have to say about it. You just want to do it. You know what? I have to be honest with you. That's how I feel about like doing these readings and stuff. There are plenty of people in my life that have no idea that, obviously they know that I'm into some, different kinds of, I dress differently, and my husband and I are both really, into religious studies and esoteria and whatever, but we don't necessarily share with other people, what we do, or what our particular interests are. And it's not necessarily that I don't feel shameful about it at all, but I don't know how to talk to people about it that have no basis in it. And so I keep it for myself, right? Because I don't want to have to explain myself to people who don't have any interest in it. So it could be a situation like that, and that you are out there looking for some kind of validation from the universe, from a like-minded community, and that makes sense to me. You just have to keep looking for that, okay? And live in your truth, the thing that is going to keep you happy and going. And this cat, you're going to hear, if you listen to Dove and Serpent Tarot, Paul, did a all signs reading today. So the cat's meowing throughout that thing. And now here she is meowing at me as well. So you will hear little TT in both of our readings for sure. Okay, so we have a person, we have some birds flying above. Reminds me of, I know it's an augury, but it's the flight path of birds, looking for divination, scrying of the birds and then their patterns of, whatever it's called, the grouping of them as they fly in the sky. And I know it has a word, but it's so beautiful. I hadn't seen it in some months, but the last few weeks I've seen a lot of big flocks of birds making beautiful imagery out over the fields. And so I think that there is this sense of, awe and wonder. There's a lot of messaging from the universe. I feel like you are very supported in what you're doing. And be not afraid. You know what I mean? This last week, the thing that I've been thinking a lot is because we have a lot of things going on in our personal life, but is this idea that God or the divine, right? It doesn't matter what you call her, goddess, or maybe you are like me and you have a lot of different aspects of the divine that show up as different deities, both, commonly shared and personal pantheon. But anyways, God is the greatest. I shall never be afraid. This has been my mantra. This is what's been getting me through the days. They're just, it's so easy to get caught up in life and the fear of life and the fear of things within life. And I try not to be afraid. I try not to live in a place of fear. My nervous system is a little damaged. I am diagnosed with CPTSD due to prolonged traumas when I was younger, and it changes how your brain works. So I have a feeling of fear. Not every day, but there are times when it's really bad. And you can tell because I get very jumpy. Every sound makes me startled and things like that. Then there are times when there aren't flare-ups, and that's a really nice way of living. I try to not live in fear, and it's hard. But it's this part of the path is reclaiming your place in this universe of being what you are, as you are a divine entity, a divine being. It took so many things, more than you could even imagine, to come together to create you, and even more things to keep you alive and existing, right? And so we are so very special, each and every one of us. And I say this to myself a million times a day, it seems like. You know, God is the greatest. I shall never be afraid. Yeah, so there we are, you know, and I truly feel that, and you know, in a lot of ways, when we go through these journeys in our life where we really do spend the time to look at the sign symbols, synchronicities, we honor our way. We honor those parts of selves that we've been afraid to talk about. Here's my other one. It's being in recovery. You know, when I first started this channel, especially, I know I've talked about it quite a bit, but I always am kind of like, should I say anything about that? Even though I know people know. But, you know, it's just, there are parts of ourselves that we worry that people will judge us. They won't accept us. And you know what I have found? Sometimes those parts of selves are the things, when we find that brave, you know, little space to kind of talk about how we're feeling, what we're thinking about, what we are passionate about. Those are often the things that make people kind of really feel like they relate to one another. I can't tell you how many times, you know, even just in 1 week, I at least meet 1 or 2 people that are in recovery. I have a conversation with somebody outside of a meeting about sobriety and if they are in recovery or not, you know, and I'm not somebody to go out there and preach it or anything, but I connect with people, you know, on this level, and because it's something I really care about. And, you know, so, you know, something to keep in mind truly, I think, is that more often than not, there are things about ourselves that we think are so amplified, you know, it feels very emotional and amplified to us. But when, you know, you have to consider around other people, they, you know, they might really connect with you. They might not even, care that much. And I think that's also the other part. It's just most people are just, you know, trying to live their lives like anybody else. And, you know, and so, just, you know, as always, be careful, be discerning, you know, read the room, of course. And, but it will save your life to explore who and what, and even if it's something that you don't identify with, but you have an interest, give yourself that room to do some exploring. Okay. All right, let's see. We're going to do one of these real quick, and I got to get moving. We have so much stuff to do today. My goodness. Okay, we have Earth. Definitely earthy energy. Always, always, always. And that Earth Mama, we got them. Okay, and then we have transformation. Earth transformation, and we had that, the mountain. So that's definitely that Earth energy. And then we have healing. Okay, so we have Earth. I feel like definitely the thing with the Earth energy for me is it really is that build and destroy energy, that and the Kali energy, the mother energy, the grower and the destroyer, where you come from and where you go back to, you know, kind of give your body to the earth, and it dissolves it and it recycles every aspect of it. And so that is, but we also have the transformation, and I feel like, yes, we're going through a big transformative period there, Pisces. And the healing is through that, you know, being able to recognize that deeper aspect of your personality, your identity, how you perceive yourself and your authentic being. Okay. This has been a long one. I'm going to go ahead and say thank you for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. If you'd be so kind as to like the video, it helps us get into the algorithm. The algorithm decides everything about everything. And so we like to make it happy with the engagement that it wants. And those are things like liking the video, watching the readings from the beginning to the end, sharing the readings on other social media platforms, watching the other readings, your other placements if you are interested in doing that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please think about doing so. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. And if you want to leave a comment, I read all of them, and I will have some time off the next couple days. So I'm definitely going to be on top of all of those. So yes, please leave a comment. I love hearing from you. You all are, my soul family, and I really appreciate you. Okay, thank you, and we'll talk again soon.